we got some new things. We're going to call a roll call. Who's here?
Yes. So Mr. Nichols?
Here.
Mr. Cook?
Here.
Mr. Hampton? Mr. Heil?
Here.
And Mr. Holliday?
Here.
Okay.
And Abby's also here. She's a non-voting member, but she's also here.
Okay. And then I'll call the meeting to order. Okay. Okay. I am chair of 3 different organizations, and each one runs things a little bit differently. Okay. At the hospital, you have to declare your conflict before the meeting starts, so that everybody knows that you have a conflict and where your conflict's going to be. Does anybody have any preference to how we do it? Or just say we got a conflict and I thought, let's just do you know who you have conflicts with, Paul? Or not?
Yep.
Abby? Okay. Okay, my conflicts are going to be with Sandusky Mesotherapy, the Bait House, and Pipe Creek LLC.
I have a conflict on Sandusky Mesotherapy. I think that's it.
Okay. You also need to-
Which is that all right if we have, so that leaves the 2 of you that vote on that one?
Yeah, just can't go forward today then.
So it's 2
How
or
many
4.
committee members do we have now?
5.
You 4 and Jamarcus?
Well, just us 4 for right now.
Nobody's on, first of all, nobody's on the screen, right?
We're live streaming.
Live streaming.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, but I mean,
Oh,
nobody.
no one's online, no. Nope.
Okay, so we only have 2, which is not a quorum.
And just for the other committee members' benefit, Jamarcus did submit his resignation from the committee. Unfortunately, given some of the private projects that he hopes to pursue in the coming years, he decided that he'll have to step down from the committee. So I think I'm sure you would all join me in thanking him for his service to the committee, and we hope that he will continue to stay active and involved in Sandusky in other ways. But that does leave one opening on our 5-member board.
If that's the case, one of the things I want to do is move the meetings back to 1:30 so that I can have lunch and just come on into the meeting. Otherwise, I got to go back to the office and I might as well forget it. Huh?
I approve that.
Pardon?
Works for me.
Okay. 2 o'clock just breaks your afternoon up. I mean, it just, you know, some of us still have to work for a living. What can I say?
So do
Okay.
how long does it take to replace Marcus? What do we have to do that?
I guess what I would suggest, like we did with the Finance Committee, is put something out that, you know, we're looking for members. I think the clerk put that out somewhere. Do you remember how she did that for, I know that's how she did for the Finance Committee. That's how we ended up with Naomi, so.
We'll be working on it and try to get that position filled as quickly as possible.
I agree, but how do we get it out there to the public that, any suggestions?
Well, I think first question is, are members appointed by the city commission?
Yes.
City manager approved by city commission.
So we'll need to coordinate with the city manager's office and the city commission. And if they think public posting makes sense, we can go ahead and do that.
Or even on our website or somewhere that,
Yeah, that's a great suggestion.
for whatever reason, people don't want to serve. So what can I say? Okay. So now that I think I've gotten all those things that should be taken care of, first thing is approval of the January 11th minutes. Can I have a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the January 11th minutes.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, program financial update.
All right, you each should have received the financial summary of the Economic Development Fund. I'll take a minute to walk through that. First of all, thank you for your support of the projects in 2021. As you can see, I think we have a really great list of projects that we supported. Many of them are now completed and have been dispersed, and a few others are in the process of being completed. So I'm real proud of the work we did last year to support business growth in Sandusky. We have already committed to 2 projects here in 2022. That would be True Grit Fitness LLC and Tambo Entertainment. Those commitments total $65,000. So you can see that our carryover from 2021 was $148,000. We do have a 2022 allocation of $500,000. That's new funding coming into the program. So we're appreciative to City Commission for continuing to support the program. That gives us a total funding of $648,000. We do have to account this year for the second payment to Small City Tap House, which was a large project that was approved last year. That's a $140,000 payment. We've got our $65,000 already committed this year, which leaves us a fund balance at this moment of $443,000. I'll be presenting today projects totaling about $175,000, which, if my math is correct, leaves us with about $250,000 after today of available funds, if all of the items presented today are approved. So we have a healthy balance, and again, appreciate the support from City Commission for this program.
Jonathan, the small city money hasn't been paid. That's just been restricted to pay them when the project's done. Is that right?
Correct. That 140 is a commitment that we've made that I expect to be paid this year, but you're right, Paul, that has not been dispersed yet.
Because we're waiting for him to, that's when he has to get his project done, then we reimburse him. Just so I'm not messing anything up, it keeps flashing, waiting for others to join. That's just something on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm not buzzing by somebody like I did in another meeting.
I can turn it off, actually.
Who
'cause
happened to be Dennis Murray.
it was for Abby, but she decided to join us in person. So.
I even heard about it. Okay, you've heard the financial report as presented. I think I'm going to ask for a motion to accept the financial report as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Second discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now we're going to go down. First one being WTFR, something investments. Wild fried rice. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this application comes from one of the first vendors that is planning to go into the Sandusky Food Hall with the fried rice. This is an application that came in earlier this year. It was tabled at the last meeting, and I understand that at our last meeting there was some discussion about the fact that construction had not yet started at the Sandusky Food Hall, and that continues to be the case. We're hearing positive things coming from the developer, but I can understand if the committee would like to continue to table this request until we see further progress at that location.
Personally, I'd like to see the money stay in the pot for projects that are ready to roll. I mean, this is a tenant for a building that hasn't been built yet, so.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that.
I think at the last meeting, then we responded with a motion to table the request.
I mean, if we don't take this off the table, it just stays there. We don't actually have to do anything.
Okay.
Because we didn't table it for a specific duration. We just tabled it indefinitely.
Good point.
So I guess we can move to the next item, unless anybody wants to make a motion to remove it from the table to.
Why didn't work for the last 10 minutes and stop working? I need an 11-year-old. We got an 11-year-old around here somewhere? Okay, so that one we've kept on the table. Next one then would be Sandusky Mesotherapy.
Yes, Sandusky Massotherapy is a business that was founded 27 years ago by Miss Maria Berardi. They've been located for many years on Columbus Avenue at 422, but
Jonathan, before you get too good, because we have conflicts.
Sure.
So it'd only be you two, and if you can't vote on it, I don't want you to have to waste your time on it.
okay.
But that being said, at this amount, you guys can do administratively, right, without the board? Just because my concern is the project, my understanding is underway. I don't want to delay it until we find somebody else. I mean, she could be put off months because we don't find it, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah, we have not been doing administrative approvals since I came on board, but we'll take a look and see if we actually can. And I think if we are able to, I agree that this would be a case that we should exercise that authority. It is a great project, and I'd hate to see it jeopardized at all just because of a conflict. So I'll end my remarks and we'll take a look and see if there's anything we can do before the next board meeting.
Jonathan, just a comment on, I feel like we've run into this situation a couple of times. So I don't know what the charter says, but I know we've always gone a modest committee size here. It might make sense to go 7 people versus the 5. If we have oftentimes people conflicting out.
Well, I agree with we need more people, but we got to find them.
and even if we go 7 or 2 are alternates when we can't, we disclose conflicts early. I mean, because you have a banker and accountant that probably work with a lot of these businesses anyway, so if we can do that way where they can, hey, I can't make it this meeting, fill in, or we have conflicts.
Yeah, we would just have to amend the ordinance. Currently, we can only have 5 members.
I thought last time, though, we said that it was, you needed a majority of the voting members on that deal.
Correct.
So on this deal, there's 2 voting members. If you both voted in favor of it, would that work, or is that?
It wouldn't work for 2 reasons. One, it's a majority of the members of the commission, the board, to pass something.
So 3.
So 3. And 2, even if it was the opposite rule, it would fail because we're split on quorum and the tie goes to not passing. So we could not move on this piece of legislation anyway, because the 2 abstentions count as no votes.
People are losing money because they know us, Al.
I'm sorry?
People are missing out just because they know you and me.
Heard that before.
No,
right?
mine's,
Yeah, right.
mine's a legal problem. Yes.
Well, we'll see what we can do, and if we're able to assist this project before the next meeting, we will, and if we have to bring it back when we have a full slate of board members, we'll do that.
Trying to think who. Basically, just need to get one more person back onto the committee. I mean, because I'm always going to have this conflict till I die, so. Well, I'm open to any suggestions. You hate to see somebody have to wait for something.
Agreed. We'll do the best we can to assist her in the meantime. If you'd like, I could move on to our next case, the Beckling Historic Properties LLC project.
Yes, please.
All right. This application comes from Tom Bodner. He's the owner of Beckling Historic Properties LLC. The company owns the building at 614 Columbus Avenue. It was actually constructed in 1914 as a personal home of George Beckling, the famed president of Cedar Point Pleasure Company, which became Cedar Fair. It is on the National Register of Historic Places. Mr. Bodner purchased it in 2014. As folks are, I'm sure, aware, he operates the Beckling Club there. It's a pub, restaurant, and event hall. The city has supported a number of smaller projects at this location, but Mr. Bodnar is facing a pretty large expense, primarily the replacement of the roof over a large section of the building. Total project cost is about $70,000. I'm recommending that we provide a grant in the amount of $10,000. This is primarily a preservation project to maintain the building envelope, but with this being such an important historic building and active business, I'd recommend we provide $10,000 towards this project.
Well, I think it's a historic building that should be preserved. The amount that we're contributing is a sixth of the cost. I think that's reasonable.
Well, you make a recommendation, we approve it?
I would make a recommendation that we approve $10,000 as presented.
And you made a motion, second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
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 All right, our
Can you
next,
poll for the opposed, please? Sorry, just for the record.
Call a roll call?
No, you don't need to call
Oh.
roll, but like, we just had aye.
Oh.
There's
All
no
those
nay.
opposed?
Say all those opposed. See if anyone's opposed.
Okay. Again, chairing three different committees, they're all different.
Sure.
All seem to be different, so I am more than willing, if you want to go that way, I will do it that way, okay?
Yeah, I mean, we just
Okay,
need to,
So, anybody opposed to it? Okay. Okay. So, passed. Okay.
all
You
right.
and Mr. Murray need to have a conversation.
So that brings us to our next application.
Yep, next one.
All right.
Lake Erie Fisherman LLC.
Correct, which is owned by Alec Trumpauer. Mr. Trumpauer and Lake Erie Fisherman LLC has leased a retail space at 174 East Market Street. They leased it in August of 2021, and they signed an initial one-year lease for that space. Build-out costs incurred by Lake Erie Fisherman LLC totaled about $2,700. Mr. Trumpauer seeks to additionally expand the business by installing a 1,000-gallon minnow tank and 2 floor scales, which are suitable for weighing competition fish. This is an important part of the business, the expansion into live bait and also the weighing of fish for competitive fish competitions. So the total project cost when we include the retail build-out space is just about $6,000. I'm recommending a grant in the amount of $2,500 to assist with this next phase of expansion. There was some discussion in the application that you may have noticed about a mobile fish operation. In talking that over with Mr. Trumpauer, that's not really something we're able to participate, or that I'd recommend we participate in. So we have focused in on some of the interior equipment that he is looking to purchase to expand the business, which is what I've reflected here with the minnow tank and the scales. You know, just in conclusion, it is really important for us to have a vibrant downtown retail mix, and Mr. Trumpauer has brought a unique type of business into the downtown, and we're hopeful that he is successful, and I do think that these expansions will help make him more likely to succeed here in the downtown.
Do we finance equipment? Have we been doing that?
We have, what we tend to look for are more capital assets, capital pieces of equipment, which perhaps can have a legal definition or accounting definition that I'm not as familiar with, and I'm not sure if these would technically meet that scale, but we do tend to, we have financed equipment in the past, although I will say it's tended to be somewhat larger equipment, like some of the restaurant equipment, for example, at some of the downtown restaurants, we did assist in the funding for last year.
Then are those scales, are those mobile scales, or will those be in the business, in the location? Because maybe I'm confusing the mobile operation that he talked about here with it. I guess I was thinking he was taking the scales to different areas and using them all over the place. And the reason I say that, the equipment purchase to me kind of seems like a bit much, but.
No, that's a good question. He did indicate to me that the scales would be used at the retail location for folks to come into the shop to weigh their fish. He also has a banner background that they'll be able to have their picture taken in the shop. You know, he didn't mention whether he would or would not take the scales also out into the field. They do seem to be of a size that he probably could take them out of the shop, but I had not asked and don't know if that's something he's planning to do. I do know he is planning to use them in the shop.
Last question for me, I swear. I've noticed a couple people listed Rob Quinn as their personal reference. Does anyone know Rob Quinn?
Very well.
What does he do?
He is half owner with Bird Falls Sun and something called Tan Pro. They've
Okay.
got 521 tanning salons.
Gotcha.
Now, if he was the applicant, I would have to abstain, but he's not the applicant, he's just. Okay. Everybody, how they feel about it?
Your thoughts?
I guess, make sure we're all on the same page. Again, trying to keep the downtown, both retail and, that this is going to be a retail operation.
I believe it already is. It's already opened.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
It's open.
That was going to be, thank you. So it's built, it's open, it's running, and now these are just additions to allow him, hopefully, we can bring some tournaments into Jackson Street Pier, and that'd be an ideal spot to be able to rally back to see one. Port Clinton has got one that is, I think, similar to what he's going to end up doing, and it's been very successful.
So his original request was for 5, but that included the mobile.
Correct.
Okay, all right, I want to make sure I understand. And the 6, the 5,900 is just for the fixtures for the bait shop itself. Yeah, okay, so fixtures, display, really large fishing. I'm not a fisherman, I'm minnow tank. All of which are going to be fixtures for the actual, okay.
Correct. And just as a reminder for the committee, our funds will not be dispersed until the equipment is installed in the shop. So I personally visit each site and verify, as well as obtain any necessary supporting documentation. So I do think it's a great question that was raised about the scales, and our funds will not go out until we can verify that they have been installed in the shop location.
I would move to approve the grant amount as recommended for the 2,500.
Okay. So for Lake Erie fishermen,
Second that.
heard? Second that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing nobody opposed, motion carries. Paper Street Holding LLC.
Yes, Paper Street Holdings LLC is owned by Ross and Robin Besh. The company recently purchased the property at 603 Columbus Avenue. You may be familiar with this. This is a former bank building. It's a large building, over 10,000 square feet, and it has sat mostly vacant and underutilized for a very long time. Paper Street Holdings is in the process of converting the Madison Avenue wing of this building into 3 transient rental units. Their total price on the renovations for these 3 units is close to $300,000. These are going to be Airbnb units. They've been approved by the Planning Commission for these 3 units, plus a 4th unit in the larger commercial space of the building. A fair amount of this work will be exterior improvements to the Madison Avenue wing, including new doors, windows, landscaping. Transient rental projects of this size are not able to be supported through our Housing Beautification and Development Program, which typically provides $7,500 for major rehabilitation projects. So using that $7,500 figure and wanting to support this project, which will bring more people near our downtown and provide nice overnight accommodations for folks, as well as repurposing what I consider to be pretty obsolete office space. So for those reasons, my recommendation is that we provide a grant in the amount of $22,500, subject, of course, to City Commission approval to support Mr. Besh's project there at 603 Columbus Avenue, specifically just this Madison Avenue portion.
Any questions?
When you say the Madison Avenue portion, is that because you expect there might be another project in the future, or?
That's correct. The front portion of the building, the 2-story office portion of the building, is also pretty heavily underutilized. There are no major renovation plans for that at the moment. My understanding is Mr. Besh is talking with potential tenants, but will likely approach the city for some assistance when he comes up with some plans on what to do with the front portion of the building. So, correct, this portion of our assistance would be targeted just to the Madison Avenue wing.
For the conversion, for the transient rental conversion?
Correct.
What's the difference between renovation and contractor? Like, why is it broken out into?
Primarily because that's primarily because there's no cost estimate from the contractor at this time. That is a time and materials arrangement, and I don't believe Mr. Besh had any paperwork on that as of yet, so it's more of a way to account for the different types of documentation that we received as part of his application.
That's something they included as their estimate in their application, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that follows the way Mr. Besh is accounting for the project and the way he outlined it for us in his application. I will compliment him. He did a nice job in providing us with both contractor estimates and as well as financial documents. And I think by the contractor estimates that he provided, it's definitely clear that this is a major undertaking, and it's going to be a really nice project when it's done.
Anybody have any other questions?
The only thing I would add is, or say is, when I look at the number in terms of like the total project cost, because I think sometimes we talk about the percent that we would go to. I don't know if we've ever used the acquisition cost, because really, to me, the number is he's putting 272 into the construction side of things, right? Because we don't help people buy buildings, you know what I mean? Just without renovating them. So to me, the real project number is 272. I still think the 22.5 is within reason at, at 10%, but, I don't know if it's written up differently like that, because some of the other ones I've noticed that are in here don't include the acquisition cost, but just the renovation cost, but I don't know if there's rules on that, but I would say to us, the renovation and contractor cost is the cost we look at.
Well, we're still in the 10% with the,
Yeah, it's within reason. I'm just,
okay.
my comments here on the record, but other than that, I would make a motion to approve it.
We have a motion on the floor to approve it. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It's approved. Okay. Next one would be the Bait House Brewery LLC. And again, I've already declared a conflict on that one.
All right, well, we will proceed without you then, Mr. Chairman.
Because Finneran has that one, doesn't he?
This request comes from Dan McGookie, who is the owner of Bay House Brewery LLC. Bay House opened on Meg Street in 2018. Last year, we assisted them in their project to install a kitchen. It was a fairly modest amount of assistance, $10,000 for them to install a kitchen in the upstairs. That project and their continued brewing operation has proven to be very successful, and they are now in the position of wanting to expand. What they'd like to do is construct a year-round structure in the place where they currently have their seasonal tent and beer garden area. The proposed building would be 1,500 square feet and seat 50 people. It'll feature garage doors that can open and allow the outdoor air to come in the summertime, preserving that summertime open air feel that Bay House is known for. Mr. McGookie has provided a pre-approval letter from Savista, where he banks, and has also provided a cost estimate from Janata Herner in the packet, where you can see that this is a project that's estimated to cost between $415,000 and $475,000. In summary, Bay House Brewery has really somewhat organically grown into a major player in the outdoor and indoor as well, restaurant and brewery scene. They're a really popular local attraction, and this new expansion is really, I think, exciting to see for a local company. So I'm recommending that we provide a grant in the amount of $50,000 subject to City Commission approval to support this exciting construction project at the Bay House Brewery.
Paul, any questions?
I don't think so.
I'll point out that the project is still subject to site plan approval by the Planning Commission. Mr. McGookie hopes to be under construction in early fall, and I think that'll coincide nicely with his peak season in terms of his business activity, and then being able to undertake this project in the fall and really be in great position for next year in order to capture more of the year-round activity, which is really part of the goal of this project, is to be able to accommodate more people on a year-round basis, which is also in line with our whole, part of our city efforts to try to capitalize on tourism and recreation on more of a year-round basis, particularly with these types of projects that are in some ways becoming their own standalone destinations and attractions. So I think it's a project that'll be successful and really good for the city.
Did you say begin construction in the fall?
Correct. That's what Dan's goal is.
Those words make me nervous. How long would construction take? In my thought being, is this do we take 2022 money for money that, we're setting 50,000 aside if we approve in 22. If he starts in the fall and doesn't finish till 23, then we've blocked other applicants essentially for 9 months. You know what I mean? Like if it's a 23 payout, I mean, to me, it makes more sense to wait to 23, but.
Dan might respond by saying that, two things. The certainty is important to him. This is a key piece of his financing. And I can say that my experience with him has been that he's gotten his projects done. So,
Do we ever decide on how long the money that we approve is good for? Do we ever say it's good for 6 months, or have we ever?
Not that I'm commenting on this one at all, okay?
General conversation.
In a general conversation.
About timelines, yeah.
I thought we put it at 1 year. At 1 year, the money would roll back. In other words, if it wasn't started or, well, I'd have to go back to minutes, but that kind of rings a bell. And it all stemmed back from the Cardinal Grocery project that,
From-
went on and on and on.
December 9th, 2019.
Your recommendations usually have a timeline. Is it a standard timeline? Or is it based on the project scope?
it's project specific.
Okay.
So in talking with the applicants, when we think a reasonable time is, and
That's what I could not remember, whether it was project specific or we just decided to.
that's been my approach, and I'm not sure if there've been a different practice in the past, and certainly if there's any, recommendations from the committee, we can.
If anything, people have gone way over it. I think we have all come to a conclusion or agreement that this is not a perpetual grant.
Yeah, but unrelated to this one, I think in new business, old business, whatever is the right place. I mean, I'm in favor of saying that, discussing what the timeline should be, and because I think this is a great project. I think they're doing good things over there, and, it's well worth it. Don't get me wrong. Unrelated to this one, I just don't like to see money tied up for a long time, and then new applicants call you and say, hey, we're out of money for 2022, when we know we have money that isn't going to be allocated. I like to get the money out while bricks and dirt are moving. But that is unrelated to this project. That's more of a general thing, but.
I didn't even read it. I just put it aside.
Yeah, that was a general comment, yeah. All that being said, I would make a motion to approve the submitted financing under the, or to go to
In a general
commission.
thing, not this, in a general thing, we basically decided that we're going to take it on a case-by-case basis, because if something's going to take 7 months instead of 6 months, as long as they have started it and have a major part of the completion done within the grant year, to me, I would consider that in the grant year. Again, it's fine line, Paul, and I realize that.
Well, and I think, let's step off of this one, then we just have an open conversation about it, but, I hate when money is allocated and then sits and then other good projects can't get going because of it. I can appreciate the fact that some people won't start projects until they get the okay from the city, but to me, I think there has to be a 6-month timeline of the grants are good for 6 months. If you can't finish in 6 months, then unless otherwise agreed by us, which, for huge projects, $2 million, like $2 million projects, maybe they need more time, but.
Maybe you do a start date for larger scale projects must be started within 6 months or something like that. Ones that are gonna want assurances of the money before they begin. But, you know, the fisherman example today, he doesn't need a year, say under 5,000 or something in terms of project size.
I
They
might,
should be completed within 3 months, honestly.
if I may, so some of this is covered on a project-by-project basis by their grant agreement, which does require them to, you know, meet certain benchmarks before money is allocated, so on the back end. And if, you know, if the Economic Development Committee wants to, for a project, state that this must, in order, this money is only good for this period of time, that can always be accomplished through the motion or through the actual approval here. And then that becomes a recommendation if the dollar amount is
Okay,
large
yeah.
enough to city commission. And so this is a very helpful discussion, but I do think that as far as kind of how to create a functioning system so that it works for the people coming forward, it does make sense to do it on a case-by-case basis because most of this is covered by our approval. Like for this instance, we're approving that this project will be completed by July 1, 2023, and then their grant agreement reflects that when it goes to City Commission, and they have to meet those deadlines in order to actually receive the funds.
Another thing I'll point out about this specific project is this is a pre-engineered building that is going to be installed. So I'm recalling now that Mr. Moguki also mentioned that there is some lead time in terms of ordering the building and the materials. So while construction won't start until the fall, there's going to be steps taken fairly immediately in terms of planning commission approval, contract executions, and perhaps not immediately, but much sooner than the fall, material ordering. So, you know, that's probably another reason why Mr. Moguki was submitting his application, you know, at this stage. But I do agree that with the discussion and the caution about reserving funds too early. So that's definitely something I will continue to keep an eye out for. In this particular case, I do think it makes sense for us to proceed with the approval at this time.
Because again, not discussing this, but the supply chain. I've seen people have 90% of the project done, and their wife's stove and refrigerator don't come in. I agree with what your basic premise.
Well, and it's a fine line too, because we've always said we don't want people to finish projects and then apply for a grant after and just recoup their money. So I can appreciate that, All that being said, I would make a motion to approve as presented with the timelines outlined to the commission.
Second.
Second, let it please be shown in the minutes that I did not participate in the discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The bait shop, the bait shop, the Bait House Brewery. Well, I always call it the Bait House, but that's okay. Approved. Okay. Next one, Pike Creek Wharf LLC. Again, I'm declaring a conflict and will not participate in any part of the discussion.
Pipe Creek Wharf LLC is owned by Pat Murphy, and he is proposing to build a new bar and restaurant on River Road, specifically at 2330 River Avenue. This is a 0.74 acre property that he purchased last year. He's since cleared the site, and he has obtained site plan approval from the city to start construction on this building. The building is going to be 3,300 square feet. It's really going to take advantage of the waterfront location that he has there. It's being constructed by RDS Construction LLC. Mr. Murray has provided the construction contract, which he has executed for this project. It should be getting underway very soon. In addition to potentially providing grant fund assistance, Mr. Murray has also requested $10 tax abatement through our enterprise zone tax abatement program, so that will also be proposed to the city commission. I wanted this group to be aware of that. Mr. Murray expects to employ 12 full-time equivalent employees at this location. This is an area that has not seen very much commercial investment in recent years, but I think it's an area that has a whole lot of potential, and I'm excited about Mr. Murray's vision for the property and the project that he's proposing. I suggest that we provide a Economic Development Fund grant in the amount of $75,000 towards this project.
Where is this building? Is it,
I'm literally typing it in my GPS right now.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if it was McDonald's or it was,
yeah, essentially across the street from Louis.
okay, yeah.
Again, that was not to discuss the project, only to give you.
But yes, I am familiar with McDonald's, yes. So I assume that the numbers that are provided in here are backed by some type of estimate. I mean, all I have is a drawing of a building, so I assume those numbers are backed by estimates?
Correct, yes, estimates, and we do have the construction contract. And this somewhat relates to the conversation we were having earlier. You know, this is a much larger project totaling probably at least $1.3 million when you take into consideration acquisition and some of the pre-development costs that Mr. Murray already has in it. You know, given the additional assistance we're providing through tax abatement, as well as just some of the other demands that I think we're going to have on the program this year, $75,000 does seem like the appropriate amount. It's approximately $10,000 of the actual hard construction costs, and I think a meaningful amount of assistance appropriately sized for this project.
Do you know when he plans to start construction?
Yeah, there's, pretty imminently. I know he was out there, I believe, a week and a half ago having the property staked. He's received his approvals from the city, so already cleared the site. So construction is going to be happening fairly immediately.
The,
Did they receive all the building permits?
I'm not sure about building permits. I know site plan approval from the planning commission has been granted.
That he got. I think there's still some open items
From building?
from other things, yeah, because it's right on the water.
so the project complete date on the application says July of '23. So we wouldn't be dispersing these funds until essentially the third quarter of next year, right? If we go by that, which goes back to the previous conversation about 75, do we give them 75,000 now and then we're holding it for, per the application, over a year? Which is
For,
a lot for my liking.
for this project, since it is a much bigger scale, my preference would kind of be that they apply in '23.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
That we reconsider this later for the '23 disbursement.
23 funds, yeah.
I mean, I'm not, it sounds like they, you know, it's not a huge, like, that the gap in this is going to hold up. Like, they have a lot of work to do. They have a lot of planning to still do. I'm not sure that whether or not we consider this today is going to really slow down the project. Like, they can keep moving. We're not, it's not, I don't have the same concern of the gap with, like on our last discussion where I think the 50 was pretty key to getting that over the hump. I don't know though. I mean, is it really, this is a brand-new building. It used to be it's not zoned residential though, right? But it's like, there's a house frontage or something?
There was a house on the property. It is
That's right.
zoned for commercial activity.
That's
but
right, yeah.
Had previously been used, I believe, for a residence. It had a house on it, but the house has since been demolished.
Gotcha.
I would agree with your comments. I mean, in terms of, is it ripe to,
Yeah, I don't think they're there yet. I think they're in the really early days of, they just got their site plan approved.
well, when I originally thought it was July 22, I'm like, oh, okay. But we're July 23, so the
A year and a
disbursement
half.
of the funds per the application wouldn't be till,
Probably
it's just too
almost 2
long for me
years.
to, right,
It's a lot to encumber too for
right.
almost two full cycles. And I mean, for a project this size, like, our 75K better not be your, like
No.
yeah, like, that shouldn't be
The determining factor.
the determining factor of how far along you're going. I mean, I would imagine there might be some gap, but like, probably financing, what is it?
7%, 7.5% if you take out the acquisition costs.
Right, yeah, exactly. They have this is 10% of just the construction. And I'm not even sure they've done the pre-development phase yet either. I don't think they could have without the site plan approval.
And if they don't have site plan approval, then that's going to take some time too. So I mean, I would make a motion to table this one until it's closer to go time.
Second,
And in terms of discussion, I would say, looks like a great project, something that we would definitely get behind when it's time to get behind.
right.
Do we need any kind of motions to table, or we just table it?
I mean, we need to vote on the motion to table it.
Can I have a motion to table it for,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Let me get a note that I did not participate in any of the discussion. All against, say aye. You don't know how this killed me with those two.
Is that the last one?
That's the last one.
First of all, thank you. My suggestion, again, obviously with Eric, I can call Eric, you can talk to Eric, you can do however you want. I'm going to be seeing our mayor. He's tried getting these committees filled with, he says he doesn't have much more hair to pull out. Joke, that's it. Whether we put it on our website or whatever, I know at the end of the year, a couple of years ago, we put that we were looking for different people for different committees, and we got, some committees got like tons of them, and another committee got one, and the lady showed up for one meeting and left. I'm not that bad, really.
I do think, though, in the last 2 years of applications, there might already be people that have expressed interest in joining committees, including this one, that the city manager or Jonathan and staff can look through to see if there are any
Yeah.
good fits.
Yeah, I'd like to see at least two more. At least 7 would be a nice number. Because again, because of the conflicts with this one, as opposed to with different, some of the other committees, you don't have the conflict as much.
Yeah, I'd love to see 5 with 2 alternates on the, so you don't jack the number up to 7 and then the quorum.
Then I'm going to ask this
Increases
gentleman
too,
about alternates, because I get into that argument with another board I sit on, Did they have to sit in and hear the meeting Or can they just come in later and vote and it's?
No, they have to be there for the whole meeting.
Yeah.
I guess.
So it's, you get 5 for the meeting.
Yeah.
If the alternate is replacing someone who's absent, they are that.
They're
they are the-
physically there.
Yes.
Okay, I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, well, and I would say, we look at these beforehand, and if you and I both know, or whoever two people have conflicts, then we call the alternate and say, hey, can you make it on this day, and I'll sit out,
Yeah.
or whatever. So that way, because I don't want projects to be stalled because
No, I mean, that's.
We know
I
people.
mean, that defeats our purpose.
No, I mean, we can definitely propose some recommendations to, it's ultimately the city commission's,
Okay.
we'd have to revisit the ordinance and they'd have to draft that. They'd have to approve any changes, so, but we can, if it's the commission's recommendation that maybe we do some research and present some options, that's definitely something staff can at least start the work on that so that, if city commission decides to update the ordinance.
Being a small community, on a committee like this, it's real easy to get into a conflict situation.
Absolutely, totally understand. And, we want active people, but also to make sure we can do business, so can definitely look for some creative solutions, a couple different options. I mean, we've heard 2 just here, going to 7 is one, or doing 5. We do have boards with alternates, and we could go to the alternate model, so,
Now, this is the first time that I've got hit with 2 in the same
sure.
meeting. Okay, I did believe I heard you say that we got a formal resignation. Can you say, let's read that in for the minutes, so the minutes has got, I just lost his name.
Jamarcus.
Marcus,
DeMarcus. DeMarcus is formally resigned to you.
Correct, Mr. Chairman. Jamarcus Harris did submit his resignation, so I'll ask that the minutes reflect that and our appreciation for his service.
Yeah, let's just make a motion. Thank you very much for your service, and thank you very much. So can I have a motion to at least say thank you? And
I make a motion to thank Jamarcus Hampton for his efforts.
I'll
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Opposed?
Can we go into old business, not to hijack your meeting here, but
I'm sorry?
can we go into old business real quick? I just have a question. I don't know if it's on the agenda, so I'm adding.
I don't have old business.
Well, here's some old business
You
for you.
certainly may go.
Yes.
I mean, if you've gotten that old, you could have old
Yes.
business.
Family Health Services, I see that there were 65,000 approved for them, but it's not in the total dispersed side of the chart. So do we still have that, or and are they expecting it, or do you know?
Yeah, they're underway with their project,
Okay.
about halfway done. I expect to be dispersed within probably the next month or so. We have extended their grant for, I think they have a few more months, but are in good shape to get that one wrapped up.
Answer your question?
Yep.
Anything else? Even though we don't have old business, anything else? If not, Sharon,
I have 4 things.
you have 14 things?
4. 4. Don't panic.
Man,
Okay, first one, I saw on some of these documents that there's some landscaping and and I think this committee talked about landscaping. I don't think that our grant should be paying for landscaping. I think Mr. Cook maybe mentioned that or something. And maybe there should be some things tightened up in the guidelines on what you can or cannot spend this money on. Transient housing, I don't think that should be in the grants either. I mean,
what was that, Sharon?
should I go back to number 1 again?
No, number 2. What
Oh,
you-
number 2, transient housing, I don't think should be up here for a grant. That's just my opinion on that. And I think maybe that was talked about with this committee too, so, and I see this is coming up again often. Also, last meeting, the Tambo Entertainment, there's a sign involved in that, and it was not put down on the cost or anything. And one of the commissioners is involved in this. I don't see how this could go through.
Which one?
Tambo Entertainment. was
Tambo
one from last time.
Entertainment. Oh,
What is that
commissioners
one?
involved
I
in
don't remember.
this.
I'm gonna be honest.
Clubhouse number 3
Was
is going into the
approved.
Fike building, the Tamburinos.
And there was a sign, but there was no sign cost in the project or anything. Well, and I don't understand that. Why isn't the signs being put into the project? They're a part of the calculation of the project cost.
That, I would say that we're not giving credit for those costs if they're not calculated in there. But, I mean, that would just be my guess.
Well, I'm sorry, can you pull up that mic to you?
Sure. If they're not in the cost breakdown, then they're not getting credit for that. There's no money from the city being allocated to the sign. That's why it's not in there.
But that's not what the paperwork read. It's confusing. There's paperwork that says that there is a sign involved in that, in the improvements. Do I have that wrong?
The only thing I read about a sign was that they agreed to put a sign up for 1 year that. it was
No,
fun.
not that, no.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here.
No, it's not that, it's in more with the documents there, and it gave me the impression there was going to be a sign, and the commissioner abstained from that when he passed this Tambo Entertainment thing, he abstained. So I need some clarification on that, whether or not this can go through, this grant can go through.
Which commissioner abstained? Mr. Brady?
Brady sign.
It sounds like a commissioner level thing, not our meeting. I can't say why they vote or they don't vote.
Am I not right, Mr. Holliday?
Well, I mean, Ms. Johnson,
I mean, you've
Are
got
you-
all the paperwork, you got more paperwork than me, so.
I mean, I would think that you'd be the one that would want to determine if what you're saying is right or wrong.
Well, I'm seeing it in the paperwork. I just need some clarification, because Mr. Brady abstained on Tambo Entertainment. And some of the
Okay.
paperwork said that there was a sign involved in that grant. So
So
what's
don't we
going
decide
on
each
here?
grants? I'm
I mean,
sure.
we appreciate your concern, but I don't think there's a question that we can answer for you there.
Well, I'm bringing it up. I don't care. I think it's your duty as the city attorney to look into this, okay?
Well, and
I'm presenting
that presumes that what you're saying is accurate, which I have no idea if it is or isn't. And two, you have not raised a conflict for any board member here. And I mean, if you'd like to continue with your comments, you may, but you can keep saying, I need clarification on something, but that's not exactly true, ma'am.
I'm just bringing it up, okay?
Appreciate that.
I'm on record of bringing this up. It's your duty as a city attorney to look into what I've.
We approved it at this committee,
Okay.
correct?
It was approved by both this and city commission, I believe.
Okay. And my last one is, I see that you have a member that has resigned, and I would like to go on record to say that I'm interested in the job.
Okay.
I think I could bring a different perspective as a resident up here. I would be at every one of these meetings, because I am already at one of these meetings, every one of them. I wouldn't have a conflict. I'm not connected with anybody. I would be a good candidate, so I'd like to go on record stating that. Thank you.
I would say at this stage that put your application in with Mr. Whoopser. If I'm understanding the way this is going to go, send that to Mr. Whoopser for his consideration.
I think I've got an older application in, but I don't know if they still have it where I applied for this.
Because you've already made the comments, okay? Why don't you get a updated application into Mr. Whoopser?
Okay,
Okay.
I'll do that.
And again, Debate House, Nobody needs to know why I have a conflict, other than Supreme Court said I have a conflict. Everybody knows who my daughter is, but that's besides the point. I do not have a financial conflict. I got one of. I don't think I've seen a project come through that has not been at least worthy of substantial discussion. I think everything that has come through is, whether we agree or not, okay, and vote for it, but I think people are coming to us for a while. What I remember, Sharon, you're maybe a little sharper than I am some days. For a while, we weren't getting the applications that we wanted, and we tried to explain. I think you brought the comment up. It's not just for downtown Sandusky. This is the city of Sandusky. I start to think we're seeing more and more. I mean, they're downtown, but hey, if they're the ones that are making the application, that's the ones you're going to have to look at. So, and I was hoping with bringing on the other gentleman for that we would get some more of the minority out in the areas out in the city to apply for grants.
Yeah, I share your interest in seeing this being a program that's available to anyone that's interested, and we're going to keep working hard, even with Jamarcus, even though he's not on the board, and others to make sure.
He can still be our advocate.
Exactly, and help us to spread the word about the program and promote the program to a wide group of businesses that can participate.
Okay, anything else? Move for adjournment. Let's do this right before I get yelled at.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side. Next meeting, May 10th.
And
Unless